Hey everybody, my name is Edgar, and I'd like to welcome all of you back to another episode of Diffusing the WMSCOG. We got another episode of Red Flag Friday today, and we got a new panel of guests. So I'm just gonna allow everyone to introduce themselves real quick.
Hi, I'm Sarah, and yeah.
Okay.
Hi, my name is Daisy, and I've been in church for 13 years.
Hi, I'm Odalis, and I was at the WMSCOG for about 3.5 years.
I'm Amber, and I was part of the WMSCOG for about 8 years.
Cool. Yeah, so we got some heavy hitters on here today. So today's topic that we're going to be covering is mental health. This is one that I think a lot of people has been asking for. We've been talking about this for quite a bit, and honestly, I'm excited. I know this one's also going to get a little bit emotional because
Mhm.
it just always does because of all the things that we went through while being in this place. But so I have a question for you guys. Do you guys think that people that are involved in the World Mission Society who have like a mental health issue, do you think that the World Mission Society is a good environment for them to be around?
No, no.
No. So
No.
I'm of the same opinion. I believe, in my opinion, that being in the World Mission Society with any kind of, pre-existing condition like that, any kind of, mental health disorder, it just amplifies it in a place like that. And so I think this is something that I want to talk about. I'll start off with this question. How did your perception of reality change after leaving the cult? Did anybody have anything to say about that?
Um, well, I know that I experienced some derealization when I was going through the whole mental breakdown. Like I didn't know what was real and what wasn't. I couldn't tell. And that was very scary. Like I really couldn't tell. People say The Matrix. I mean, that's always the movie that it gets compared to, but that's how I felt. Like I couldn't tell if the life I was living was a reality or if it would, I felt like seriously, like it was just I was looking down at myself. So it's scary. And once I left, there was a lot of course, PTSD, a lot of trauma. And I definitely had to seek therapy
Yeah.
because I had a lot of triggers. I was having a lot of night terrors and nightmares. So yeah, that was
Yeah.
tough.
There's a lot there that I feel like we need to unpack one by one. But just the fact that you said, like, after you leave that place, it's crazy that you
Mhm.
that's a real thing where you're actually like thinking like, man, is this even real? That happened to me. Like, I remember when I left the WMSCOG, it almost felt like my whole time there was just a dream. Like,
Yeah.
I was like, no, that didn't happen. So like I wanted to suppress it so much because of everything that I went through in there that I'm like almost like if I wanted to pretend like it never happened, you know? And sometimes yeah, I did try to like live my life like if it didn't happen. And then, like you said, you see things, triggers,
Mhm.
right? You hear things, you feel things, and it's so crazy how they mess with your mental. Is there anyone else on here that like had any experience like that?
Um, I would say recently I started therapy, and one of the things that I realized is that my chemical, I guess like brain was like completely rewired after I got out of there. Because like we do have certain traumas and certain things that happen through our life and as well like a child all the way to adulthood and whatnot. But being there just like literally just rewired everything that I thought of people, how I thought the world worked. And I wasn't even there just like a long time. So I can't even imagine like if I was there for a really long time, what that would have done to my brain. Like it just completely changed my perception of people. Now I'm like I have trust issues even more. Like when I see people being nice to me, I'm like, are you nice or do you want
Mhm.
something? Or are you just
What's
being
the
fake?
yeah, what's the ulterior motive? Yeah, I'm the
Yeah,
same.
like I always
Mhm.
second guess and then I'm like, okay, I'm not there anymore. Some people are just that nice. Like they're just
Mhm.
like that and that's it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. Even like you mentioned, like even the people around you, you lose that trust.
Mhm.
And I think that's like very crucial when trying to build like new relationships outside the cult. You know what I mean? Like it's definitely very hard. But even then, like just it's so crazy still, like even just thinking about it, hearing you guys mention that, like I joined when I was like 18, 19. I left when I was like in my 30s, so it's like my whole 20s, it's like it didn't even happen, and I can't even remember everything in detail. I don't know if it's because my brain is trying to like make me forget it, but it's just so crazy, like
It's like a I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt, but it's like a defense mechanism that you're basically your brain and you're basically trying to forget it, but at the same time, it's like your brain is trying to help you, but at the same time, like you said, you'll get triggers.
yeah,
So there's only so much you can hide away before it starts coming out.
yeah,
So, yeah.
yeah. And Daisy, did you want to mention anything?
Well, I left like a year and a half, so I've been trying to, with all the stress, anxiety with it, just thinking it's like all yeah, same thing like trust issues and making sure that I kind of who to trust and who I can't. Just because as soon as I hear the word like, oh, I go to church, it's like, really? It's like, are you, what kind of person are you? It's like, it's just a lot of kind of fighting those, you know, anxieties just thinking about that.
Yeah. Yeah, and the fact that we went through this at a church, you know what I mean? Like that's unreal to me. Like I don't expect to go to a church and like leave having trust issues, leave, having walking away with thinking like, man, was that even real? Like I just want to forget everything. That you don't walk into a church for those purposes. So it's like it just really makes you think like, is this the type of place you want to be at when you see all these type of issues there? Amber, I don't know if you were kind of listening to the topic, but maybe you want to chime in.
Yes, I was listening. Yeah, I leaving definitely experienced while in the church, and when I left, I experienced a lot of anxiety. And I think it just had to do with like this immense amount of pressure of doing things perfectly, or like you don't make it to the kingdom of heaven. Like the risk of not doing everything to the T was just too big of a consequence that it would just I was riddled with anxiety. And leaving, my anxiety was so bad, like my I had to get therapy and I would pick at my hair to the point where I left a bald spot in the middle of my head. And not to mention the night terrors. I mean, and like you said, these are things we experience at a church, and this is the result uh, of of us spending our time in a place in which we thought God dwelled. Right? It's a church. Like you're not supposed to be leaving or even experiencing those things whilst participating in a church. So it's yeah, it's really unfortunate. But yeah, those are some of the things I ended up leaving with, unfortunately.
Yeah, yeah, and it,
I do want to say something. I know we're y'all saying it's a church. It feels like a church, but it's really an organization because, like you
It's not.
said, that is not a church. A church is somewhere you can go without judgment, where you can actually feel that you are, getting closer to God without someone looking in your back or taking attendance or why are you late? No, that's not that's an organization that is built to control. Anyway, that was it.
yeah,
I'm sorry, I just I It
Mhm.
drives me crazy. Like even sometimes I still say, "Oh, I was going to this church." It's not a church. It's a cult. It's an organization built on fear and control. So,
Yeah, no, I agree. They definitely run it like an organization. And you guys bring up a good point. Like, when you don't expect to feel these things at a church. You know what I mean? And like when you look at the Bible, Jesus says, cast your anxieties on me, right? And this place, it's like, no, we're casting our anxieties on you. You know what I mean? It's like Jesus says, my burden is light. They're like, well, ours ain't. They give you more. And it just seems like the reason I bring this up is because again, this place makes the claim that they are the true biblical church, yet every time we do this, every time I talk to ex-members, we see that they contradict the scriptures in every single way. They're not, I wouldn't even consider them a church. I honestly, it is like an organization. You're like, I feel the same way at the church. I felt the same way at the church that I do in my job. Like you're expected to perform. You're scared if you don't meet quota, you're gonna get, disciplined. You know what I mean? Like you could get let go, you could get replaced. And they make it like they even will tell you straight up, like 144,000 can be replaced, right? You can go from being 144,000 to the great multitude. What does that do up here? Now, if you guys, I think all of us can agree when we were in the I mean, I'll just ask you guys. I won't speak for you. Did you guys ever feel that you were enough in the WMSCOG to go to heaven?
Nope. No.
So literally, so you're in this place that claims to be, the ticket to heaven, yet you never feel like you actually obtained it. You actually, as the years go by, instead of feeling closer to heaven, you feel further away from it, right? You start questioning God himself because you're like, man, like if this is God, if this is what I want to be around 24/7, I don't know if I want this for eternity. Because
Um,
again, it go ahead, Sarah.
no, I was gonna say that for me, at one point, I guess I justified it or kind of told myself that maybe is the way that the Old Testament God was. Like he was more, I guess, totalitarian in some ways, but even then, he was still more like merciful with the Israelites. Like he still gave them chances. He still was trying to like, hey, let's go this way, even though like if you don't, I will like destroy you in some ways.
Yeah.
But he still was like merciful, not to the point of Jesus, but it wasn't to the point of like the cult. Like it wasn't this terror that if the Israelites don't do exactly what they were told, this whole like craziness will happen to them, if that makes sense.
Yeah. No, I get it, and I agree with you. I would much rather prefer the God of the Old Testament than another day with An San Hong and Zangyo Ja. It's still night and day difference, right? And even then, you see in the Old Testament, you're like, ugh, that's rough, like that's a little scary, but still, even then, at least. You know what I mean? Like they're being told the truth. These people will lie to you. These people will lie to you. They have you chasing, you know what I mean, false aspirations. Like it's the environment is just bad, which leads me to my second question. What are the most challenging mental health symptoms that you guys face during the recovery process of coming out of that place?
Um,
ooh,
oh,
for me, it was definitely oh, one that really used to get me was any man in like a suit, a full suit. I used to think that it was a brother. Like it was so stupid because I was leaving work one day. I work in healthcare and I'm going to my car and I see this man in like a full suit. And the first thing I think is like, oh my God, it's one of them, But my other thought it should have been, oh no, he could be a rep because that's how they dress. They have to present their whatever, their product. And the first thing I thought was that. Oh my gosh. And definitely in the beginning, the Sabbaths. It was weird being home it was kind of like triggering because it's like, what am I supposed to do now? What do I do with my Saturdays? So, and even now, like I work down in Englewood Cliffs in New Jersey, and that's a big Jewish town. So I work Saturdays, and as I'm leaving, you see them, and it's like, wow, for them, that's right, it's the Sabbath for them. So sometimes it's like, ugh, because it brings that thought back. Like they're in the, in the building today doing that, and it all goes back to my branch also because she was a friend before this, so it's kind of I think that's the main thing that still kind of gets me because I still have dreams about her, so in relation to the WMSCOG. So yeah, that was definitely tough for me.
That's wild. And you've been out for how long now, Odalis?
It'll be 2 years in December. two
Yeah.
years yeah. Mhm.
Anybody else?
Um, I would say when I came out, for me, I did have I guess the dress code, but it wasn't with the men, it was with the women. Because it's like I guess in New York City, you see everybody kind of wearing, like suits and all that stuff is like normal. But for women, the way that we dressed there was completely different. It doesn't match like it doesn't mesh with the way how like New Yorkers, like women who work in, I guess, like offices and whatnot. Usually it's like pantsuits and or like Floyd dresses or stuff like that. Not like rigid pencil skirt and then like the suit on top. Like it's not like that. So that definitely triggered me every time I saw a woman like that. Like I was like, oh my God, they're from there. Like they're
Yeah.
about to approach me and talk
Mm.
to me. And I just like I need to go the other way. And then
Yeah.
I also used to go to this college campus. BMCC is like a small college, and it was close to one of the locations. So I would avoid anywhere that was close to their space. Like I would not even go to Wall Street, even if somebody paid me for it. Like I would not go there just so I would not see them because I would get like so triggered. Even just taking the train to go to school, I would think like, oh my God, they're gonna approach me, they're gonna talk to me, stuff like it was constant panic and paranoia all the time until I got over it. But yeah.
And how
So
long?
I'm sorry, real quick, you're from the city, Sarah?
Yeah.
New York City, yeah. That's one thing I have to say. Jersey was very big on going to quote unquote preach in the city. One of my first preaching events or whatever, that's where I went. So yeah, I can see why that would be because they're literally always in NYC or are preaching where they're going to open their new place. So like when I was leaving, it was Jersey City. So I noticed that a lot of them were headed that way. So if they're about to open like a new building or whatever, they'll stick to that location. But the city is definitely a big preaching place for them.
Yeah.
No.
Daisy, you got anything?
For me, I guess like more like um just like everything like the church just taught like many years of like Christmas and all these holiday is like triggering because like they impose all these you can't be doing this, you can't be doing that like every year it's like kind of like when those holidays come around I'm all thinking and just get very paranoid I guess
Yeah. Yeah.
and just start thinking back and it's like, am I still back in the church? And it's just it becomes very stressful, I guess.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But you just have to kind of like look back at like, it's like, it's okay, it's just the church is the way, very, all these things because like even like towards the end is like to become towards the end I was like, I just want to be the 144,000. And
Mhm.
like I wanted to, but I was like, you can't. I was like, it was just too much. I was like, the great multitude will be be okay for me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, with all those like rules they had, and you had to bear fruit. I was like, okay, well, I'm never gonna get that, and then you have to do this. I was like, okay, I'm just like losing it little by little. So it was just, it just become very stressful. And afterwards is like anything that like Chris, like all these holidays, thinking it's just very stressful and it brings anxiety and I don't know, just
Yeah.
too much.
Amber, you got anything?
Yeah. So for me, it was Sabbath day. Saturdays were just a big trigger, just like trying to figure out how to fill that time and doing it without feeling guilty took a long time, to the point where my first Saturday I missed that night, I had a night terror. And it just goes to show, I would say the phrase a lot like scare tactics and not really think much of it, but people don't realize that it actually really is a psychological thing that has big weight um, on you. And I never had a night terror. I never was screaming to the top of my lungs in my sleep and sweating until I left that place. And that first Saturday, my fiance had to physically wake me up out of my sleep, and he said I was screaming, and I remember the dream I had, it was about doomsday. So to just spend a Saturday normally took quite a while. I would say a year it took for me to just really be able to relax on a Saturday. And so that was a big deal. I didn't have any other triggers. I guess I did have to talk myself into keeping Halloween because that's a big one in the cult. And Halloween is sort of in your face with like demonic things. So it was just hard for me to rationalize like celebrating it. Um, but I just told myself, well, I'm not experimenting with spirits and a Ouija board and whatnot. So that's kind of how I got over that. But to Daisy's point, you're kind of just riddled with paranoia and anxiety. But anxiety was a big thing. I ended up getting therapy, and my therapist could already tell by the voicemail I left him on the way there. He was diagnosing me on the way there because I had left this drawn out message that was full of panic on the way to our meeting because I was running 3 to 5 minutes late.
Wow.
And I knew immediately once I got there and I calmed down and we started our session, that it was from the cult. Because um, till till this day, I remember verbatim my leader or my branch, which is the person who brought me, told me the one time that I missed a service or I showed up late to a service, she said to me, what if Father had come? What if Father had come and you were late? You would have missed him, and we would have been in heaven and we wouldn't have been here. So that statement, although it may seem small to a listener on the outside, when you really believe these things, the amount of anxiety attached to it, it's incredible. So for me, just being like just showing up late was like unacceptable. And it would riddle me with such anxiety to the point where I would be shaking and almost like hysterical about being late, even if it were like 3 to 5 minutes. And it's like we could always just make up the session. It's not a big deal, or it's okay. You have a 15-minute grace period. Like that norm was not the norm for me, was not reality for me. So that definitely was quite the adjustment as well.
Hearing you guys like say all that just is like bringing a lot of emotions to me. I mean, Sarah and O'Dalley's bringing up, the even the dress code, like how triggering that could be. I hated wearing suits every single day, and you were made to feel guilty literally about everything in that place. So if you didn't wear the suit, if you didn't look your best, you know what I mean, you weren't good enough for you still weren't good enough for father, mother, but you were even less than if you didn't try your best to keep up with yourself, even though you stay up all night, even though you're there preparation day more. They don't care. It's like it's the image. And then hearing, Daisy talk about, the holidays, and Amber as well, with the Halloween, and it just all these things like that it's just these extra stressful things that they put on the members, and it's just not fair. And again, these are things that a real healthy organization, a real healthy church, people that care for you, they're not going to put more stress on you like that. And I don't like to get doctrinal too much into these red flag episodes or anything like that. But if people are curious, because I already know members are watching this, they're gonna be like, you see, pagan worshipers, I knew it. I got videos on my channel where I'm breaking down about, the holidays and all that. It's not what they say that it is. That's a complete lie. It's all about intent. It's all about intent. It's like the
Um,
same thing if I'm telling the church, if they ask me, hey, what day do you go to church? And I say, well, I go to church on Sunday. And they're like, oh, that's bad. You're worshiping the sun. I'm like, okay. So if I tell my pastor to switch it over to Saturday, will that make it okay? Guarantee you they'll still say no, because they'll be like, well, you're worshiping like this. You're not worship. In other words, what you're telling me is it doesn't really depend on the day. It depends on the intent, right? So if the same thing with the holidays, am I trying to worship false gods on the holidays, or what's the intent there? And so I just want the members to think, because we let these kind of things weigh us down and we feel so guilty. And again, this place doesn't do their history. If they really did their history, they would see that a lot of these things didn't have pagan origins like they say. But again, if
I
you
was
want to see
just
that, yeah,
Yeah,
go
I
ahead,
was just
Sarah.
about to say that, like, if they don't have their history right, no, you can't talk about the holidays or and all that stuff. Like, if something so simple to look into is the history, and if you
Yes.
don't have that right, you don't have anything right. It's That's my opinion, of course, but that's the way I see
Right.
it. Like, th- and they always say we have the history, everything works out. We definitely have it. They can't dispute it. Yes, they can. They can't dispute it. I'm sorry, but they do. Actually, no, I'm not sorry.
Sarah, real quick, can you tell the people what you majored in, like in school? What did you go to school for?
History.
Okay, so we have someone that knows their history, okay? And I'm not talking about this history, because this history is
No, no,
trash.
no.
Actual history, okay? So if you have real historical questions, please reach out, okay? Because I'm telling you right now that their history is not real history. It's tailor-made for their doctrine to make it fit, okay?
And my
Um,
focus is on ancient history as well. So,
Yeah, and she's good. Trust me,
Mhm.
I've heard her before. She gets down. So that being
Right.
said, um, we
I
move
do
on.
want to say one thing, Edgar,
Go
about the
ahead.
you and the doctrine.
Yeah.
I feel that it's great that you do that, even for people who, like me, are kind of like, is there, isn't there? Because one, you have history, which is great, but then you also have people who are really knowledgeable in the Bible. And that time we had that meeting, I sat there and I'm like, wow, it does make sense because you're actually reading the entire context. You're just not picking out verses. So I feel, in my opinion, that it is good to look at other videos to see the point of view of both history and the Bible and actual Christians who actually know what they're talking about. Theologians I don't know how to say that word, that actually know what they're talking about because they actually studied it. So
Yeah.
I wanted to make that clear for all the members that are saying that we're blaspheming or whatever. No. If you sit there and actually read the entire chapters of the Bibles, you'll see that a lot of what the WMSCOG says to us is taken completely out of context. So that was that.
100%.
Mhm.
100%. Anybody got anything to add, or should I move on to question number three?
I just wanted to add, every country has its culture and practices also. That doesn't necessarily mean that what they're practicing is innately evil, like Christmas, for an example. And in Korea, they have tons of different traditions and New Year's and Thanksgivings and different types of practices that aren't necessarily biblical, but that doesn't make it evil either or blasphemy either. And that's Charlie in the background. Wondering my 2 month old. Sorry about that.
Hey,
But
Charlie.
yeah. But yeah, so that I just wanted to add to that point. That just because a group of people are practicing something doesn't make it innately wrong because it's not in the Bible. Birthdays aren't in the Bible. That's a cultural, traditional thing that people do. And with different cultures, you have different traditions. That doesn't make it inherently evil or wrong or bad or against God.
Yeah. And it's like, again, Jesus was a Jew. He celebrated the Feast of Hanukkah. I don't see the World Mission Society going and doing that. Right. And so again, the culture aspect has a lot to do with it as well, like Amber said. So very good point. Now, moving on to question number 3. And I want to be the first one to answer this because I got some things that I remember. Did you notice any patterns in your thoughts or behaviors that you had to unlearn? I have one. Okay, so in the WMSCOG, you're literally taught after every bite, like of food or any drink of water, you got to pray. Man, is that I think that is like one of the hardest things that I've had to like shake because I'm literally catch myself. I would catch myself sipping some water and be like, "Thank you, God, thank you." Like, you know what I mean? And it's just like it's literally like a Pharisee or a Sadducee. At that point, you're not even really giving thanks to God. You're just saying it out of habit. It's just like when you would say God bless you to somebody, like we used it so much that it lost its meaning. I mean, literally, you could kick somebody in the butt and be like, "Oh, God bless you, brother." You know what I mean? Like someone can fall down the stairs, "Oh, God bless." You know what I mean? Like everything. You know what I mean? Like it's just so crazy. There's a lot of those are some of the habits. And then also something that I didn't mention earlier, like one of the things that was hard for me to like overcome when I first left the cult is like it wasn't so much like the people or like the Sabbaths for me, but one thing that it was for me is like seeing certain things. So like if I saw like a cross somewhere, oh, that would like make the hairs on my neck stand up, because you're like filled with fear of just random things. You know what I mean? Like you're going and having you're going out with your friends having fun on a feast day or something, and you feel this fear, and so just things like that. But did you guys have any like habits that you guys got in the custom of doing in the church, maybe like prayer time or I don't know, all kinds of things, and that after you left it was kind of hard to shake? Odali's?
Yeah, so that one's a big one. Thanks to Father Mother for everything. I still used to catch myself before I took a bite or a drink of anything. Thanks to Father Mother in my head, I'm like, damn. The prayer times, because I used to have alarms, because I used to pray at every freaking 5 a.m., 2:30, whatever, all those stupid times. And dang it, what was the other one? Oh, lost my train of thought. I don't know. Someone else. Oh, I forgot what it was. It was something else though.
I'll go really quickly since Charlie is content right now. Um, for me, it was getting numbers of random people that I would have the smallest conversation with, or at least trying to, and they would almost like look at me weird, like especially in Buffalo, like although we're the city of neighbors, we're like very we're very like tight knit in our own little groups. So it's we're very like clicky. So whenever I would meet someone like new, I would be like overly zealous about it. And then and they would give me their number. And sometimes they would just be like, no, like, or in a nice way, they would just say, follow me on like Instagram or Facebook or something. Um, And then I would walk away and I would quite literally say to myself, no exaggeration, what were you doing? Like, what was that? Like, why are you being like that? You don't know this person. And I realized, like, oh my God, it's like from preaching and like going up to people, and I'm an extrovert, so I'm comfortable with talking to people in general, but the weirdness was like the overzealousness about like hanging out with the person, or like, I'm not saying don't make new friends, but you know what I mean? Like I knew it wasn't natural. That's
Yeah.
the point I'm making. I knew it came from like a habitual practice that I used to do in the cult. And praying in the name on Sanghong. That took some time. And even when I thought like I was good and I would start praying, I because everyone would like pray kind of like the same in the church. You had like this same way of prayer.
Yeah.
And you would end it like, and I pray all this in the name Christ An Sang Hong, right? You would say it like that. So I would be praying, and then I would say in the name of, and then that would pop in my head, and I would have to actually say Jesus Christ out loud in order to like stop it in its tracks. Yeah.
It's so wild. Just
Yeah, she brought it up, the preaching.
yeah.
I should be preaching to this person, or that person's drinking or coming out of a liquor store. I shouldn't be, like, the judgment was still there. Because that you're told not to preach to the, of course, the homeless, anyone who's smoking, anyone who's coming out of a liquor store. So that was definitely, and a big one for me, again, back to prayer. I spent a lot of time with the kids. We used to tell them Aboji Amoni Kansahamida. I used to also say that in my head because it was also a quick way of saying thanks to father and mother, but of course in Korean.
Yeah.
So yeah.
It's crazy. So even after you leave this place, these kind of things linger, right? And it just shows you how deep the indoctrination got inside of our minds, right? Even years removed from it, you still catch yourself. And I think it's funny, like, because it hits home for me what Amber was saying about like you're talking to people and you're a little weird. Like, you know what I mean? Like, cause you got that world mission society still in you a little bit. You're trying to detox and get it out, but it still comes out in
The
the most randomest moments. And I
I would say
remember,
like the social awkwardness, I guess, like
yeah,
in some ways. I would say for me, it was definitely the praying over the food. I did it so many times. At one point, I was just like, this is weird. Like I when I came out, and like my parents, they do prayer like before a meal. It's like a thing in our family. So it's I grew up with that, with praying before a meal. But I feel like in the WMSCOG, we do it for every single thing. It like you just get to a point, even while I was there, I was like, why am I doing it for every single thing? Like I'm already sitting down and eating. So am I gonna do it for each little bite?
yeah.
For
It
every
gets
bite, I'm
it's
gonna get it.
it gets ridiculous. I remember a deacon told that like a member asked him like, "Am I supposed to pray for every like bite?" And he's like, "According to your faith." Well, what does that mean? You already know that that's how they always answer when they're saying
It
you better do
means
this.
do it.
Exactly.
That's what it means.
So it's like and then I remember one time a member called him out, that same deacon, because he walked to the kitchen, he grabbed some, popped it in his mouth, and the member was like, "Hey, did you pray for that?" And then he was like, "Oh, I prayed in my head. Like I just said it real quick. Thank you." And I'm like, uh-huh. Like, okay, yeah, all right. But it's those things, that linger. And again, I'm not against praying for your food. I give thanks to God when I pray when I'm gonna eat my food. There's no problem with that. My point is this, that they make it like they overdo it. They overdo it and it loses its meaning. You know what I mean? Even when they greet people, because then, like, did you guys remember being in the church and then just started feeling fake? Like when
Yeah.
you're like, "We
Yeah.
love you" to every single prayer, you're like, "Bro, I'm not even feeling it anymore. Like, I'm having a crappy day. Like, I'm going through all these things. I got debt. I got this. I'm dealing with family issues. I'm dealing with financial problems, and then you guys are telling me I have to smile real big because 144,000 don't show emotions, and I just gotta God bless you, we love you, and it's like is fake. And I think people can feel that. You know what I mean? I think it's much more genuine when it comes from your heart, because then it means something. You know what I mean? And to the point about the talking to people, like what Amber was saying, like I remember I would try to start conversations, or I'd be in conversations, and I hated when I first like got out and I'm talking to people, like normal people, and they're like, hey bro, did you catch that movie? Did you hear that song? And I'm like, bro, I don't even know who you're talking about. So I'm trying to like, yeah, 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 yeah. But I have no idea, because again, another thing that they do is they isolate you from everything. So you don't even know what's going on like in the normal world, other than CNN, RT News for World War III articles. Like that's the only thing that you're allowed to keep up on. You know what I mean? And it's just so crazy to me. But you guys got anything else to add to that?
Yeah, I would say
Yeah,
like, oh,
go ahead.
go ahead.
Real quick, I also remember that a perfect example, if I would cook for my family, and I was raised that you thank your parents, thank you so much for the meal, was really good. We even got into the habit of saying thanks to father and mother. Like you can't take credit. Oh my God, I'm so sorry. It was my
No, that's fine. That's totally fine.
you can't take credit and you can't accept that appreciation that you're getting from your family for cooking them a meal. It was always thanks to father, mother. Everything was thanks to father, mother.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Um,
that also came to mind.
I would say to that, actually, the prayer, that I'm not really sure. I can't, don't quote me if it's in the Bible, but I did grow up with my parents saying that the church, they're Catholic. Woo, they're Catholic, Um, they basically taught us, and also like the community, the Catholic community, they teach other people, kind of telling, we thank the person who cooked this meal because of their hands, because of their talent. And that's not something that you can even do in the more Mission Society Church of God. Like you have to thank father and mother. Okay, great. But God gave us the talent to cook. Like
No.
we also have to be thankful for those people who are cooking for us. Like it's annoying to me that you
Yeah.
can't even thank them.
No, yeah, that's a good point, because Odalis, I was raised the same way. Like, thank your parents or thank whoever cooked the food. And like Sarah was saying, you can't even do that in there. And it does get annoying. It gets frustrating. And so now I make it a point when I do go, because I enjoy my mama's cooking. My real mama, not that fake mama over there in South Korea, but when I go to my real mama's house, she can cook. And I always make sure to thank her and be very appreciative for, everything that she's done. And so, because that's another thing that they take from us is our relationship with our families, you know what I mean, or our loved ones, besides everything else that they do to us. So, just wanted to bring that up real quick, but yeah, I definitely agree with you guys about the prayer. Daisy, you want to say something?
Yeah, I'm just, I mean, the same thing, like just always saying, oh, thanks for my mother, all these things that was always very frustrating, to this point because sometimes it just slips up. But then, my thing is nowadays, just talking to males because you're taught it's like woman with women, and you don't talk to the males, you don't talk to the brothers. So for me it's like it's hard for me to go talk to a male just because of the fact that you've been taught not to be doing that, and it's always like talk to the women's, so I when I see it I just like my face just goes down because it's like I'm not going to talk to him. I talk to to the woman there. So it's like a habit trying to get over, and trying to speak more. I'm trying to be more open to just I see a male, I talk to him like a normal person, right? But it was hard because you're not supposed to be doing that. You're not supposed to be talking to any males. You just talk to all females, and that's what you need to do. You know what I mean? So I think that was like the hardest thing too. I mean, besides all the praying and stuff, yeah, like something different. It's the, you know,
Yeah.
talking to the opposite sex.
I was gonna say that regarding that, I find it like interesting that they always say that they're transparent about everything and they're not transparent about that. Saying that, you can't they say it's just that we're coming to church and just, praying to God and just being there. We're not here to mingle or whatnot. But like if we're a family and we're a community, communities talk to each other. Different genders talk to each other. We're not separated. Like that's not normal.
Yeah, and Islam does that. Shakira, her interview is not out yet, but maybe by the time this airs, her interview will have aired. But she used to be a Muslim, and she explained how the separation of in Islam is like very similar to World Mission Society. And so, like, if you for those who might not, who might be watching this, who had no part of the World Mission Society, who weren't ex-members, if you ever walked into a WMSCOG service, the women are on one side, the men are on another side. There's married couples in there, but it's so hard to tell because they're like not even together even after the service. They're like separate. When you do see them come together, you wouldn't be able to tell that they're together because they call themselves brothers or sisters, even to their own
I,
spouses.
I find that so weird.
You
Like
even call
so
your own child in there a brother or sister.
Your
I
sister.
called my mama sister. I'm like, come
like
on, this is weird.
No, I never did. My sons were my sons, and my mom was because my mom joined more towards the end. She was always mom.
Yeah.
And I know for a fact that, well, I don't know for a fact. I'm just assuming. I always tell my kids, I know we're kind of delving a little bit, but I always tell them they're going to be my babies, no matter how old they are. I don't care. I used to call them, baby boy, come here, or whatever. So I remember there was one education or whatever after the first service where everybody goes into the sanctuary and I don't know, they do fragrance or whatever, and you can't call your children babies forever. And in my mind, I'm like, stop it, because they're my babies. I pushed them out, not you, and I don't care how old they are. They're always gonna be, you love them that way. It's not saying that you're gonna treat them like a baby, but they're still, and it's like a mother and son bond. So it's just that also came to mind when you guys brought that up.
And they
And the
would say
sisters
to
thing,
them, it's idolatry.
right? Yeah, yeah, it was idolatry if if you put your children before father and mother, whatever. But two things, the thing with the sisters and the males, that's another thing. I don't know if you want to do a separate episode about that, about how sexist it is in there, because it is. It's very misogynist. I think I'm saying that right. My group leader made it a point when it was change of season, we were going into spring, summer. She was like, she had a meeting with the sisters saying that we had to be careful not to wear um like the spaghetti string, the skirts can't be too short, no open toe shoes. Why is that, sisters? Because you don't want to tempt the brothers. Like, what?
I heard that
How am
one.
I doing
I
that?
I heard
Isn't
it.
shouldn't that be
too.
in that person's conscience?
Yeah, I can
Come
resonate
on.
with that. I was told that
Yep,
about
I
the
was told the
Yes.
same thing.
blazer.
Like,
Um,
what are you talking
and if a
about?
collarbone and a shoulder is
Yeah,
tempting a brother, he has bigger issues, I think.
thank you.
Literally is what I said. The
Thank
same
you.
thing. I'm like, he needs to just work on himself.
That's his issue, not mine. Oh, and then another thing, I know with you're saying brothers and couples that were married and calling, even those couples, I attest this myself because my husband never attended the church, but it did cause marital problems to a different level. I mean, it's very personal. And again, we can do another episode about that. I don't mind talking about it. But even if one spouse is in and one is out, that causes issues between the non whatever, the pagan and the WMSCOG member. And I can attest to that because it also happened to me. And that was also a very mental thing for me because me and my husband, we're very close. We're practically best friends. And it was like there was this big gap between us. And it just kept we were getting further apart instead of coming together. So I just, it was definitely also messing with my mental health in the sense that, my husband's not here with me. I'm trying to start this new life. He's not getting that. So it's tough. It is. And that's it. I'm done with that one.
Yeah, I just want to add real quick. We're like I did in the last video. I just want to look at the camera, speak directly to the World Mission Society Church of God members, and just tell you two things. One, stop telling people how to raise their kids. Okay, you're nobody to tell anybody how to raise their kids. Especially look at Ansan Hong kids and look at Zangyo Ja's kids. They don't even attend their church. Okay, so stop giving us advice on how to raise our kids. Two, don't tell people, don't give people marriage advice. You don't need to be telling people who to marry, how to live your life with your significant other, because An San Hong, if you really want to go there, An San Hong had a lot of issues, in his personal life. Him and Zhang
So home got
Gyoja.
some dirt.
Yeah, An San Hong's got some dirt, and this is coming from Korea. Okay,
Not
there's
only that,
evidence.
but like the divorce rate in there is pretty high. So for a church and like an organization that has such a high divorce rate, they're the last place to be talking about how a marriage should work.
Yeah.
The last place to be talking. Just saying.
Yes. Yeah. Facts. Facts. We airing them out. We airing them all the way out. Okay. So let's see. How did you guys rebuild trust in yourselves after leaving the cult?
Therapy. Lots and lots of therapy.
Okay. Therapy. That's a good one. What else we got?
Yeah, same therapy for me.
Therapy.
Therapy was a big one. And I know I've heard a lot of ex-member stories, and they say how therapy is expensive. It's also hard to find a good therapist that can understand. Most therapists, when you go in as an ex-cult member with such heavy indoctrination, they don't know what to do with you. So I got lucky, and my therapist was she is trained in trauma and PTSD. So that helped a lot. So even if they don't have the cult background, as long as they have some kind of like trauma or PTSD training, that's a big help. I just want to put that out there for anyone. And it's very hard to find a good therapist. It
Um,
is expensive, but sometimes it's something that I know I had to do that because I was just like, I was ready to just go over there and start hell. So I just,
Yeah.
I would say that definitely to add to that, like my therapist that I had was she was specialized in trauma, and the one that I have now, she also specializes in trauma as well. Um just by that, because finding somebody that specializes on like cult trauma is gonna be hard to find that, but with just trauma, that definitely helps like kind of guide you through what you need to work on.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's good. I'll let Amber and Daisy go before I say something.
Yeah, I would have to agree with you both on therapy. Um, Before I did therapy, though, there were numerous many other things that I did that I think helped. And just like walks in the park, like a lot of time alone, without like just any influence whatsoever, no music, no like nothing. That helped me, and for anyone else who may just be like spiritual, or me, I call it a form of meditation. It doesn't always have to have a name attached to it, but that's how I would describe it. Walking in the park, spending time alone, journaling, um, and finding a sense of community with your family. I did manage to make a friend that I can trust, and I think that that helped a lot because she was the one who actually guided me back into my faith with God. And that took quite some time, and that wasn't something therapy could necessarily help me with, I don't think. So, and I would say just be patient with yourself. Um, the term I was going to use was little by little, but the cult used that term a lot. So
Yeah.
I just found another trigger. So, um, I'll say it in poco a poco, poco a poco, poco,
Poquito a poquito.
poquito poquito. Yes, yes.
Yeah.
Just be patient with yourself. It's gonna take time. It's not gonna all like happen overnight, but I think just surrounding yourself with like-minded people, like like when I say like-minded people, find the things that you're like interested in. So my for me was like walking in the park and then going to the gym was it for me too. I'm just an active person and like to be physical and like to be doing things and finding other people that like the same things. I was able to find a bit of a sense of community because that was one of the things that was hard for me leaving there. You had this band of people around you who had the same kind of thinking or like-minded people. Um, and now you leave and it can feel a bit lonely because in the cult they tell you you're not allowed to even have friends, right? So when you leave, you're kind of like left with no friends really and no sense of community. So I would say like just getting involved with things that you used to like to do and be open to meeting new people that also like those things and being patient with yourself and um, therapy for sure.
Daisy?
Yeah, I mean, same thing. It's just therapy, very important. I try to also just talk to people who are not in the, church itself, and just some people I just tell my life story to, or just it's like a way to kind of, in case, just besides my therapist, it's just like you have somebody else to kind of talk to about it. And it's just try to make more new friends and reach out to actually old friends too. Because, I think the friends knew that there's something going on, right? They knew you're too busy or something, you never have time for them. So, just reach out to, old friends. And it's nice to also talk to, I guess, ex-members
For
and
sure.
to be able to to realize in and battle, just to for you to be able to see that everything that you went through is true. It's not like you're imagining things. You know what I mean? Because they really like to make sure that it's like, did that really happen to me? I was like, once you talk to other people, it's like, yeah, it did happen to you. You know what I mean? Even though people say like, did you really hear that? Did you know? Did it really? I think you understood because it's funny, like the last day I left, it was like unleavened bread, so I was fasting a day. And then I was like in the children's room, and then there's a sister who came in, and she's like, did you guys watch the video? And I was like, no. Or like me and the sister was like, no, it didn't happen. And she's like, oh, they were talking about how to be a good gospel worker. And then they were like, they were saying that you need to be 5'5" and good mental health. And then she's like, I'm not 5'5". And then I was looking at my head. I was thinking, I was like, oh God. I was like, they're really starting to. And then other sisters, like, people are like, oh, I told this to other sisters, and they're like, oh, maybe she misunderstood. So I was like, a lot of things that you see, it's like other people heard it. So, what I mean? Other people hear things. It's just that once you start questioning, they start saying, you misunderstood. So it's like very important to kind of talk to other people and just tell them like everything you went through. And most of the times they probably, went through the same exact things. And then, it just doesn't make you sound so crazy, because then you leave that place thinking that, am I crazy? Like, no, how much did really,
You know,
how much did
that's
happen?
called gaslighting. They literally are
Oh my God,
gaslighting each
thank you.
other.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's what I
They're
wanted to say, but I didn't
gaslighting.
want to interrupt her. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
that's what it is. Like they gaslight each other.
Hmm.
We gaslighted
Hmm.
ourselves into thinking that
Oh
maybe
yeah.
like maybe I'm wrong. Like I'm the one.
Hmm.
I'm the problem. I'm the
Yeah.
problem. Like it's crazy how much like cults get you to that point of like doubting yourself and your like sanity. It's insane to me. And it's to me it's like wrong to even do that to people because then when you come out, then you're
Hmm.
like gaslighting yourself into thinking you're crazy with everything
Yeah.
until you get a little better. But I would say for me, I was a little bit lucky that my family never cut me out or I cut them out. We try to preach to them. They weren't receptive. But because of how I grew up, we just said, okay, we're not going to bring religion into this conversation. And so we can be together. Just don't talk about religion. And my friends stayed with me and we
It's the same
just
thing with
kept
my
like the
family
middle
too.
ground.
It's
Yeah,
the same
like
with my, yeah, same thing. And they, never they came a few times, but they never convert. But my dad was just so funny when he did went to the church one time. He's like, he's Hispanic, so he was like, "Oh, these people like to sing. If I don't leave here being baptized, I'll end up, leaving from here as a singer." And then, and then I just, at the time I was like, "Oh God," like, I was thinking, just get baptized, right? But he never got baptized. But I was just making comments about, people like to sing so much in this church that, you'll end up being a singer.
One of the things that Sarah was saying really made me think about something. Like, you leave that place and you don't trust your intuition anymore.
Mm.
And I think that that's a very big important thing to talk about, because then when you leave it, because you don't already trust it when it comes to the church, you don't trust it in other aspects of your life as well. You question yourself if you're making the right decision about everything because of what they've instilled into your mind. And I think that that's very dangerous. That really made me think about that, because that is true. I caught myself second guessing myself like all the time, after leaving the church. Like, did you make the right decision? Right?
that could get
Are
you into very dangerous situations by
Mm-hmm.
not like trusting your gut. For
Yeah,
for
Yeah.
me, like sorry that I cut you off, but like
no, you're fine.
for me, the way that I tried to like I started to trust myself was by driving. And like I took off the map off my phone and I learned how to drive without the map. And I said, I'm just gonna go with my gut where I need to go. And that's
Nice.
like the first step I took to like trusting myself in my intuition. And then I just like went from
Mm.
there. But I would say if they take away you trusting your gut, you can end up in so many dangerous situations and you wouldn't even
Mm-hmm.
notice it until it's like too late, basically.
Yeah.
Imagine like being in the WMSCOG is like being in a toxic relationship. You build this tolerance, right, for the abuse, for the mental abuse, for all the things that you go through, and you're taught to suppress your intuition or your gut feeling, right? And you're not only taught to suppress it, you're taught that it's actually Satan. And so when you feel that later on, you could be in a toxic relationship with a significant other, at work, with a friend, and anywhere else. What do? You suppress it, because you're still thinking, you're still wired the way the WMSCOG taught you, right? Which is suppress that gut feeling, suppress it. That's, like Sarah said, that leads to a very dangerous route, right? And a lot of dangerous possibilities. But real quick, I want to say something. Amber and Daisy, did you guys steal my notes? Because what you guys said is like healing. That's actually what I was gonna say as well. So good job on that. Odalis and Sarah, you guys also, like, with the therapy. The one thing that I've heard from like a lot of ex-members is therapy is so helpful. It's so helpful. So I encourage people to, to get therapy. I think that it is very useful. And it's helped so many people. In my personal experience, I didn't find it like it didn't help me in my personal, like, a walk, but I think it's because the therapist that I got wasn't the right one for, the specific task of everything that I went through. I was pretty lost in the sauce, to put it lightly. But what I do want to say is and that's why I like having all of you guys on here, because what worked for someone might not necessarily work for someone else. And so having all these different perspectives and advice, I think that it opens up the door for people to, try different things. So one of the things that I did, kind of what Amber says, like, I like playing sports. I've always liked to play sports. Basketball is one of my biggest things. So reconnecting with old friends and going playing sports, that was very helpful. One thing that I also think is very helpful is telling your story, but I kind of laugh because sometimes when you're telling your story to complete strangers or people that, like, a friend that doesn't know anything about Colts, or you know what I mean, like, you might look like a goofball to them and they might be like, bro, what's wrong with you? Like, who does that? I would have never. I hate hearing that. Like, by the way,
Thank you.
I would have
Mm-hmm.
never have
Yeah.
joined the Cole. Like, bro,
Mm-mm.
get out of here. If you would have met me 5 years ago when I was deep in, I would have got
Mm-hmm.
you, bro. You'd been
Mm-hmm.
baptized, guaranteed 100%. But
Well,
go ahead.
it all depends on the age where people are at. That's how you like a lot of the members, they start really young, which adds to I guess like brain development. It's easier
Mm-hmm.
to get into cults when you're pretty young than, let's say, older members. When you have like life experience, you see more things, and I guess like can tell a lot more than a younger person that doesn't have a lot more experience.
It's also
I
the
can
perfect
go ahead.
after
I'm
you,
sorry.
after you.
Yeah.
I can agree and disagree with that because I did see it in my kids and they were young and you can tell, but I was at the old, I noticed that a lot of you were 18, 20s. I was what? I'm 41, 2 years ago. I was in my late 30s. With me, it was more of the situation I was in. My son and I were in a very vulnerable
Okay,
situation
I
and they
see.
took
I see.
advantage
Yeah.
of that.
That also
And it was,
takes
oh, yeah, it
yeah.
it was also easier for them. And I hate to keep bringing her up, but my branch, the person who brought me was a longtime friend. So they had that advantage that I trusted her. And I went with a
Yeah.
lot of what
Yeah.
she would say. Every time there was an issue with my son, every time I questioned, that doesn't, I don't know, I would go to her and she would also indoctrinate me because she's also indoctrinated. And I don't blame her for that.
Yeah.
So
You
I
can
I
was
tell
think,
even
actually
like
gonna
the same.
say,
Yeah.
mhm,
it's also um the perfect happenstance, like uh,
mhm,
and whatever situation you may be in your life, it has to be like the perfect
For sure.
storm
Yeah. That's
taking
true.
mhm,
place
That's true.
that creates that perfect happenstance for you to end up in that sort of
yeah,
situation, like vulnerability and
That's
also
true.
trusting
Yeah, yeah,
someone.
that's true. Yeah.
Um,
yeah,
so because I not only was I young, I was also vulnerable, right? Being on a
mhm,
college campus and things like that.
That's
So
yeah,
true. That's true.
and
yeah,
and I also was looking for God at the same time. So those
yeah.
of it was just the perfect storm.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. Me too. It was like the vulnerability. Everyone kept all the my friends, I was telling them what was going on. You need to look for God. You need to find God. So I took that as a sign. So you kind of think, oh, this is the universe telling me that I need to get closer to God. So I think it's a little bit of everything. But I do agree with you, Sarah, that it is easier for the younger children because as I said in the previous episode about Kids Room, my older, they were getting him
Yeah.
he was really get like he was to say that he was the most i guess I guess indoctrinated, it would have been him because he was on point with everything. So yes, an age, especially a young age, definitely plays a big part because you are young. You are wow, you're curious, you want to find out, and then you find this thing, and it's like you think it's amazing. So I definitely think it all plays a big part.
Yeah,
I
and to
also
Sarah's
wanted,
point,
go
sorry,
ahead.
I'm so sorry.
I also want to say one last thing. Also speaking with you guys, like having the group that definitely helped a lot. Like in the beginning, you're upset, you're going through these up and downs, and then just venting, sometimes just letting it out and just saying it, it's like, you have the support. Like Edgar has been amazing. Like Edgar will, I don't know how you take so much time to do so much because you meet us one on one. You're doing this, you do the I'm sorry, my kitten, she is like, you have Charlie, I have a cat. She's driving me crazy. She knows it's bedtime. So, but yeah, like, you really like, all I can say is kudos. You're doing a really good job, and I think being in the group also helps us having these meetings and these interviews also because you're still, you're in a way healing. You're speaking up. So I think that is also very helpful. And I went on a horror movie spree, so I used to hate horror movies. I was always so freaked out. I saw all of them. So yeah, that helped me too. Like Sarah's like, no.
Yeah, to that point, I want to say that I think that two things can be true, right? So when you guys brought up like the age and the vulnerability, perfect storm, I think all of it, you know what I mean? Like I think that they capitalize on people that are vulnerable. I think that'd be the best way to put it. And people can be vulnerable in different ways. Some people are scared of, end times. They might not care about anything else, but if you bring it, like I have an aunt, like you tell her something about God, nah, I don't want to hear it. But then you tell her like the end is coming, I want to go to church. But then if the event passes, then and so I think that some people with health issues, some like it's just people can be vulnerable in different ways, age, like it's everything. And what this group does, it's like they capitalize on whatever weakness they see, and they literally teach you to like get to know your contact, right? Ask the right questions, right? And like they'll even tell you to tailor make the way you study with them according to what they need, right?
I
Because not
found
every
that so icky. Like once I learned the whole like contact thing and the way that they did it, it really like turned me off. Because I'm the type of like, you do you, and we can meet somewhere in the middle, and I'm not gonna pressure you because you should just come to that conclusion yourself. So when they started telling me like, you need to talk to them this way, like call them all the time, and I'm like, well, I don't like people calling me all the time, so I don't want to do that to other people. Like, leave me alone, you know?
yeah,
Like, that's just the way I
And
approach with people.
or they
yeah,
would ask you to like find out their interests and like in a sense study them and then use that to reel them in more, which is really just a
Yeah,
form of manipulation.
yeah,
Because you would
yeah.
pretend to have those same interests when you don't
Thank
in
you.
order
Manipulation
to get
and
them.
lying. I'm
Yeah.
sorry, lying. You're lying, but they don't say that. They say, no, this is what they need for me to lie to them. So
yeah.
then I can bring that person in. It's manipulation and lies. Oh, I'm sorry. I used to hate preaching. That was my
Literally, me too. I
weakest. I
hated
hated
preaching.
it.
I
I
hated
hated it.
it.
And they knew it because let's go preaching. Let's go
Did
preaching. I
you
used to be
ever
like,
go
"Eh,
preaching in Manhattan? Like in
yes,
Grand Park, that area?
yeah.
I
I've been
find it
to,
so annoying because they will
mhm,
approach people in the middle of eating. I'm the type like,
yeah,
don't
Mm.
talk to me when I'm eating.
when I'm
Don't,
eating.
Yeah.
literally.
Yeah.
It's so
I
annoying.
remember I went with two older deaconess, and I think at the time she was my team leader. A family that I guess was just visiting New York. She was like, oh, I'm trying to enjoy the city with my family. They were from some other country. And she just kept talking to them. And it's like, to me, I used to dread it. It's like, I don't like people coming to me and saying, hey, no, I'm not that person.
Yeah.
Same.
So for
Literally.
you to expect me to be like that, it was very hard for me to preach. I was like, ugh.
Unfortunately, I was like a master at mirroring. I hate to admit that. Oh, oh man. And I think that was part of the social ick I was experiencing afterwards too, where I would pick up that person's personality and like match them. Like if they were hypey, I was hypey. If they were like calmer, I was calmer. Like I would
Right.
match my cadence to them in order to like get them to relate to me on some level to gain that trust.
Yeah.
Which is,
Yeah.
I hate to admit.
I had a sister that like well, we say sister, but like you know, like a member that she was the same like in our group, and I'll be like, "Well, what do you like though? Like, what do you like? Like, what kind of flavor do you like? Don't ask me like what do you like? You know? It was it was definitely difficult for me when I first joined because of that, because like a lot of members were definitely like mirroring what I like. And I'm like, okay, I told you what I like, but what do you like? Because if we're gonna have a conversation, it can't just be one way street. It has to be two ways. And it
Yeah.
was really hard to like kind of connect with people because of that. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, and it's just built on being dishonest, like what Amber was saying. Like I know because again, I can't shake what the that WMS mentality that still lingers inside of me. I can see them watching this and saying, "Well, Apostle Paul says to the Jew, I became like a Jew; to a Gentile, I became like a Gentile, right, to win them over." But I
But
think
not
there
lie. But not
exactly.
lie.
Right. The big difference is the lying, right? And so when Apostle Paul did these things, he wasn't, if the Jew was smoking a blunt, Apostle Paul's not going to go over there to smoke a blunt to try to win them over, right? And so again, the tactics that they use is what's not correct. They won't tell you the truth up front. They will tailor make it to however, what they think you need to hear first, and they'll tell you, oh, you need milk, not solid food. But the thing is, when you look at the Bible, and again, I'm not trying to get too into the scriptures, but when you look at the examples in the Bible, the apostles are they're cutting to the chase. They're telling you everything. They're telling you their belief up front. Yo, we believe that this Jesus that y'all crucified, we believe he's the Christ. We believe this and this because of this or whatever, but they told you up front. These
Hmm.
people, there's so many members out there that didn't even hear the name Ansan Hong or knew what that was
Mm-hmm.
until months after. And that's
Yeah, but
dishonest.
they changed
Same.
their tactics with that. Because I
Yes.
remember, I think my second year there, it went from don't bring up the Sabbath, don't bring up Passover. You need to bring up God the Father, unsung home. Say his name. Say, do you believe in God the Mother? So it's like they were catching on to, I guess,
Yeah.
at that time, Jordan, because
Yeah.
that at first it was DC. So of course their IT team is about to watch this, they're gonna watch this when it's out. Oh, they're talking about that again. So I remember they used to
Yeah.
say, "Don't. Why should you hide what you believe in?" So they caught on to that. So
Yeah.
then we used to go preach and say, "Have you ever heard of God the Mother? Do you know that we have a mother in heaven?"
Yeah.
So yeah,
Yeah, that they're
But
very
that's still deception because you would say a mother in heaven, but you wouldn't say, "Hey, she's here, by the way," like in
yeah.
Korea.
right.
Facts.
That's the one thing.
Like show them a
Yes, you're
picture.
right.
Show them a
Hmm.
picture like, look, this is her. She's alive, by the way. She's in South Korea. We tithe to her. All this money goes to her. She's got this big old castle. They call it like tell them everything. You know what I mean? And then let them decide if they still want to follow. But you don't because they're gonna head for the hills as soon as they hear that. But real
I
quick,
would, sorry.
no, go ahead, Amber. Go ahead. Go ahead.
I
Get it out.
I'm just as passionate as you are in that respect when it comes to that, because I would have so much more respect for this cult if they did approach people like that. If they did pull up An Sang Ho's picture and Zhang Gyoja's picture and said, "We believe this man who died is God the Father, second coming Christ in the flesh. We believe this woman here who lives in South Korea is God the Mother. And we would like you to come so we can show you why that is," or something like that, right? But they don't do that, right? So
Yeah.
it's all deception. Mother in heaven is very different from a woman living in South Korea, um,
I would say
who we
for me,
worship.
like I definitely agree with you. Like I personally don't give, I wouldn't say the bad words. I don't care that they believe in what they believe. I would say it's not Christian. even though they say it is Christian, it's not Christian. Like, just drop the label, you know?
That's another form of
But
deception to say that they're Christian. Also, is
exactly.
another form of
But
deception.
Christian non-denominational. Don't
exactly.
forget that.
So if you want to tell people, hey, we believe in this lady, sure, go ahead, man. Like, some people believe in frogs too, so it's fine. But at least let people know and they can make their own decisions. And then I'll be like, you know what? Fine. Like, I'm not even gonna talk about this. It was just a bad experience. I felt off, but the tactics that they use, that's the issue I have. Because not only are they using people, they're being deceptive, they're being manipulative, they're not being straightforward, and they're using people like basically sucking them dry. Like it's just not okay with me. Like mentally, physically, emotionally, and everything. Like they're leeches at this point. Sorry.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if they, it's like, I don't know if you've heard of this ex-cult. She's a cult, like a cult specialist, Yanya Lich. I don't know how to say her name, but I bought a book and it said it has a contract. It says if you put the cult you were in and what they expect of you, what they tell you little by little, the feast, the 5 a.m.s. If they were to sit there and give you this contract saying this, and you know upfront what is expected of you, then okay, but they wouldn't be a cult if they did that because they know they wouldn't have members. You tell a person
Exactly.
from the beginning, you have to be here at 5 a.m. You have to dress a certain way. You have to keep all the feasts. You have to what's the word, fast. You have to keep Passover. You have to, of course. So that's why they have to do it the way they do it. Because if you're completely honest, which is what people would want and expect, they wouldn't have their members. So
Well, they would
yeah,
have
they're
members, but not like to the extent that they have now.
right to the thank you,
Because
or
then that
that
would
you would
mean less
mhm,
money and less like privileges, I
exactly,
guess.
exactly. They
Well,
want they want a person who's gonna be completely what's the word I'm looking for? I guess faithful to them
Committed,
or
committed.
committed, right?
Yeah.
It's like they want everything from you. And the biggest thing they want from you is your money, right? So
hmm.
Yeah.
they're not going to get that if they're telling you up front that that's what they want. You need to tithe, you need to do the brown envelope, you need to give a free will
And the
offerings.
thing
Oh,
is
and by
that
the
they're not
way,
even like providing a good value. Like this is an
no,
organization is not even a good value. Like you're
mm-hmm,
not really providing anything to my life except
mm-hmm.
stress,
Stress,
anxiety,
anxiety, mm-hmm.
PTSD, all kinds of
PTSD,
issues. Like
yeah.
it's
Don't
not
even get
even
me
worth it.
started on Passover and the anxiety I
Oh my
used to
God.
get. Like maybe a week, a week before. It's like, oh my God, I need to prep this. We need to have the right clothes. Or do the boys have the right? Horrible. And then, of course, they put it in your head. Listen, Passover's coming. Make sure you're extra careful. Try to drive, I don't know, 2 miles an hour, because if you drive a 1 mile over the speed limit, you might get into a car accident. That's it. You're going to die and you don't receive Passover. So it's like, it's all built up. And that's the part that's horrible because, and here we are. We all end up with all of this PTSD, all these triggers, all this memory loss, insomnia, nightmares, night
Anxiety.
terrors. It's
Yeah.
horrible. Yes, anxiety. Anxiety is so bad.
Yeah.
So to
Yeah.
whoever has to deal with that every day, kudos to you, man. Like for real. It's when I went through that part, because it started with depression and then anxiety, I can't even explain it.
I
Like it
suffer
was
from
just,
anxiety disorder and
see,
like while I
oh,
was there,
honey, oh,
oh,
I
my
can't
anxiety
even.
was like up the roof. Like I was
Yeah.
doing what is it like I already had bad habits because of the anxiety disorder which is like
Hmm.
biting my nails. When I was
Yeah,
there,
I'm
like
so
my
tough.
like I was
Oh.
going at it because I just didn't know what to do
Hmm.
with my time to kind of like decompress and deal with my emotions. Like it's and
Yeah.
the thing is that they tell you just pray and preach. I'm sorry, but that doesn't work. Like
Thank you.
it's a
That's all they
disorder.
said to me. Hmm.
Like it's not that's
Hmm.
or my favorite is just like we all go through this. You just have to
Oh.
pray to Father Mother.
Yeah. Hmm.
Oh,
No,
that's not how it
no.
works. That's
My
not.
group leader was sending me stupid new song videos. And oh,
Uh,
sister, I used to just picture her saying it. I know she was Korean. I'm sorry. I know I'm not sorry. Sister, this is gonna help you. I couldn't even get 1 minute into the stupid new song. Like, you're not getting it. I
yeah.
cannot be in my own skin right now. I lost all my hair. My hair thinned out. It was just bad. It was so for you to have to deal with that every day, Sarah. Oh God, I wish I could just virtual hug you because it's rough. And I think that mental health is so important. And I know back then, everybody, like I said in the text earlier, it's all in your head. Well, yeah, it's in my head. It's part of your brain is, I'm telling you, the brain is such an
It's how it's
amazing,
wired. Like that's just
right?
how your brain
So,
works. Like it's not something that I can
yes,
just like open my brain and just
brain. Thank
hey,
you.
you know what? We're gonna work this out.
Fix
Like
it.
we're gonna
Yeah,
reorganize it and work
yeah,
properly. And the other
yeah.
thing is like I was told like, the Passover being in Zion, like
Hmm.
everything's work out. Like being here is much better than being out in the world. Like you would be worse there. So
No.
your anxiety should be like great because you're
Mhm.
here. And I'm like, no. No, it's not. I'm sorry, but it's
No.
Yeah.
not
Yeah.
because I have to keep up with so many things and I can't even like have time to myself, even though I did make time to myself. Still
Yeah.
did it
Mm.
in the
Yeah.
down low. But like, it wasn't like a lot of time that I could have for myself, even though I still made like little pockets of time. But like
Hmm.
when you suffer from anxiety, you do need those moments to
Yes.
decompress. Because if you don't, it goes really bad. Like it's if I don't have a moment to just like relax and just not think,
Mhm.
just be in the moment, just doing something that would help me just relax, I will have a flare. Like it's crazy.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
I just want to
Or you'll end up
mention,
like me in a psych ward for 8 days because that's where
Basically.
I got. I ended up I was suicidal, like to the
Yeah.
point where I was actively thinking of either going to get really illegal drugs or really like offing myself. So I was like, yeah, I ended up 8 days. And then it's like Edgar said, I think, and even I think Andy, I'm not sure. I know that once you step away from that, like
Yeah.
actually step
Yeah.
away, you
Yeah.
start to like the first 2 days I was still a hot mess. But then afterwards, it's like, and I didn't even think it was that. I
It's like a
the entire
detox,
time,
Like a detox.
yes,
Yeah.
yes, the entire time I was in there, I thought it was my bipolar disorder, but it wasn't because I was diagnosed years ago and things, I had been stable. So it was crazy to finally when I got back home to realize that this entire time, that entire thing I went through was because of this place. Like the way
Also, I
they
was
just
told as well that when I had my triggers, like or flares as I call it would be like a demon. It's just, or Satan, like push me so I'm not in the church as often or not preaching enough. Like it's Satan making
Mhm.
me like weak so I don't do what I'm supposed to do. And I'm like, man, that's not how it works. Like, if that's the case, then Satan was on me since I was like 2 years old. Like, is that what you're saying? I've
and
been
it
demon possessed since I was 2 years old. Like, that's
and it goes
what I'm
back to
saying.
how they weaponize, your mental health against you, your intuition, all of that. And just two quick points that I want to say from, because you guys said quite a bit, and I want to say about what you guys were talking about how the church doesn't give you guys all the information up front. And I just want to say that let's make a trade right now. Let's make a deal with the World Mission Society. How about, right, you guys tell the members up front everything there is to know about An San Hong, Zangyo, and what what they did, all the dirt of their lives allegedly, but no matter, nonetheless, it's still dirt. It's out there, right? All the legal scandals, everything. Just say it all. If you tell everybody all that, then I think things will respect you a lot more. I might even consider not making any more videos. But if you don't do that, how do you expect? You cannot get mad at members when they do find out all your dirty laundry and then call you out on it. How dare you? Like, so you don't tell us these things up front, and then when we confront you with it, when we have to find out by someone else, and then when we finally do, you get mad. Yo, that's a toxic trait, if you ask me. And then another point to what Odalis was saying, like I can't imagine Odalis what because I obviously from your story, like you had to go to the hospital for that. You know what I mean? Like 8 days you were in there, and the
Yeah.
stress you were under, and I can't imagine. And to hear when you said that they were sending you new songs, like if these
Hmm.
new songs were gonna do anything, and it's like, what new songs could they possibly send to someone that's already feeling like crap? I can just imagine myself when I was going through my depression. It's like, here, brother, here's a new song, and I play, and it's like
Hmm.
destruction. And you're like, what? I don't want to hear that right now. I'm already worked
Exactly.
up, And so it's just
Yeah.
like it's crazy.
Yeah.
But also when it comes to the healing things, what I wanted to say was about when you're talking to members, when you're talking to members, what helped me heal was what I was saying is when I talk to people that sometimes I don't know, like yes, it is uncomfortable to tell them because sometimes they make fun of you, sometimes they'll tell you
Hmm.
like, oh, we told you so, but let me tell you something. I've come to the point to where now I'm so comfortable with where I'm at that I actually love to bring it up to people that like don't. I could be a complete stranger. Look, I know people at my job listen to this YouTube channel,
Nice.
and they can literally vouch for what I'm saying. If I'm lying, I'm dying. Comment on the comment section if anyone from work is watching this. I've literally gone up to, oh, hey, I was in a cult. You know what I mean? And like, they're like, really? Like, and like
I
sometimes,
actually like recently just dropped it on my friend and she's like, wait, what? And I
yeah,
was like, yeah,
it,
I was in a
Hmm.
cult. What
I feel like
what
when
can
you
we call
get to
it?
the point to where you're not, uncomfortable talking about it, that you're in a good place. And that could take time. You know what I mean? I'm not saying you have
It
to
took a
be
long
able to.
time for me to get to
Yeah,
that point.
and it doesn't mean that you have to do that. I'm just saying, just like everybody gave their ways that helped them cope, that was one of mine.
Hmm.
Another one was the sense of community. When
Yeah.
I left, I didn't have, there was no one. You know what I mean? All I had was Jordan of Gray Light Studios, but me and him were beefing. You know what I mean? So like that was no community. So like talking to people that actually understand what you went through and walked a mile in your shoe, that helps tremendously. And the WMSCOG, they hate that. But members, I'm telling you right now, there's a huge community out there that know exactly what you went through, that's been out for years and that are
I would say
fine.
that this, yeah, sorry to cut you off, but basically I would say that when I first came out, there was really no sense of community. It was 6 years ago when I came out, and it was pretty lonely. It was really hard and tough to just like deal with it, and I just had to like tough it up basically and just hope for the best
Yeah.
basically. Like, and then I started seeing like videos of Great Light Studios, and then like things started to like kind of go. It was slow but never to the point of like really finding that sense of community. So I would definitely say like having that has helped me tremendously in those like 6 years that I've gone through like the process.
Yeah.
Mm. I
Yeah.
was fortunate to have my family. Like my father, my mother, they saw me literally at my worst. My best friend who lives in Florida, who I consider a sister, she actually drove up from Florida while I was going through that. And not one of them, what I like also is that not one of them ever even brought that up as, well, are you sure it's not that place? It's kind of like they let me figure it out. And unfortunately, it took me having to, be admitted, but I have a couple friend, an ex coworker and his wife. We became amazing friends. And when I told them, he said, "Well, we knew, but we didn't want to," because you know that when you're in there and they tell you that if someone says they're a cult, well, then they're demons or they're Satan. So it's like everybody knew that I was probably gonna fight them on it. So I was very fortunate to also have my family, my mother, my father, my kids. Everybody was very supportive of me when I came out, when we all sat down and said, listen, this is a cult. We cannot do this anymore. So
Yeah,
I was fortunate. I'm sorry, Sarah, that you had to go through that by yourself. I can't even imagine because it's hard.
I
It
mean,
really
I
is.
definitely did have like the side like with my family, but they never
Good.
went through that. So they couldn't
Right.
really give
Mm-hmm.
me
Yes,
that
yes.
support that I needed. Like
Mm-hmm.
they definitely gave me the support of like recovering and kind of like seeing things how they
Mm-hmm.
were before and kind of like having that confidence in people a lot better, but not help me in the sense of like I did see that. I definitely like heard
Mm-hmm.
that in the cult. I definitely study that type of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And having like a ex-member community definitely helps with that aspect. But my
Yeah.
family, especially my dad, my mom, my dad told me this afterwards, but my mom, she wanted to do an intervention, and my dad just told her, if you want to see her and you actually
Uh-huh.
want her in your life,
Mm-hmm.
don't do it.
Yeah.
We'll just try to
Mm-hmm.
do a neutral ground, and that's how we're
Mm-hmm.
gonna go forward. And that really helped me because they
Yeah.
stayed in my
Mm-hmm.
life. They I wouldn't say that they brought up like I guess like religion. They would ask me certain things, but it was to like kind of nudge me to think for myself
Mm-hmm.
and think
Yeah.
about those things. Even though at the like when they started doing those questioning things, I already was questioning the cult, especially with the history.
Right.
Like
Mm. Especially being a history major,
literally,
like,
Yeah.
yeah,
oh my gosh. Like,
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
that really like riled
No,
me
but
up.
I understand wanting the community because it kind of validates what we went through. And it's not like we're crazy.
Exactly, exactly.
This not only happened to me, it happened to others. And, again, so many of you were there for so long. I think I would have made 3 years. I was almost at 3 years and
I
I
was four
lost it.
years, like
Yeah,
almost
like
4 years,
I
yeah.
I don't know how some
You do
Corey,
it like
13
so many
years,
years.
18, 20. It's like, wow, how are you not in a corner somewhere, you know, pulling your hair out like Gollum from Lord of the Rings? I'm sorry, I'm a comic geek. So, anyways, but yeah,
Amber, which
so
I
I see
I'm
you
just
want to
sorry,
say
wanted
I'm done.
something.
to
I'm talking too much.
I just wanted to add to a few points. I don't mean to backtrack, but the mentioning about like anxiety and how, with everything that the cult put us through and the pressure and everything like that, even if you are coming in without, any sort of mental health struggle, sorry about that. We're not robots, and that's how they expect humans to operate. I'm gonna I'm gonna I'm gonna pass on this note.
You're fine. You're fine. Daisy, do you want to say something?
Sorry, what was the question?
No, we're just kind of talking, just kind of open, just kind of what helped you cope, just talking all things mental health, everything you got.
Um, well, for me, I mean, it was a lot of research and trying, just seeing other videos kind of helped me, like, what to do, just take precautions, seeing a therapist, um, being able to talk to other people and making sure that, like, what I've heard and seen at church, it did happen. So it's very, I was very, I guess you can say, like, not talking to anybody in the church at that point, just trying to come up with my own conclusions. because obviously when you leave very scared, thinking, am I going to be able to do this? Is it the right church? And then I feel like if you do your own research, start looking around, thinking back, you can start seeing like all these things that just didn't make sense. And little by little, you know what I mean? It's like, but don't try to get influenced by the members at the point because, your emotions are all over the place. And they get that. They get your emotions and then try to use that against you. So that way you can stay behind. You know what I mean? They try to ask you questions. What is it? What's going on? Like they try to question everything you do. So that way, it looks like makes you think like, like you're imagining things. Just stay here at church. Or, don't you love father and mother? Don't you, all these things just for that. And I feel like people should really not listen at the moment. Just try to do your own thing and then just if you want to go back and you're happy and it's okay, you know what I mean? It's up to you. Every person's, different, right? But it's like you should be able to make that decision yourself, not like them themselves making the decisions for you. You know what I mean? Not keeping things away from you, not doing this. You know what I mean? Trying to play it off like, oh yeah, it's not a big deal. Like, we all, we know this. Yeah, I mean, they try to say, we can explain it. We can explain it. No, you can't, because if you guys were able to explain it, why don't you just explain it from the beginning? Why wait until we find out in order to be able to say, let me explain it. Let me explain it. I was like, no, like explain it from the beginning. Like, why did you, why you have to wait until now? Like, no, I don't want to wait until I find out enough for you to look to explain it. It's like, come on, like, no, like, say something. You know what I mean?
Or
So,
if you ask
yeah.
like a question, then they say that you're being too picky and you're not like having good faith, basically. Like it's a double-edged sword. Like if you don't ask, then it's like, oh, then it's just your own mind, like you're just making it up in your own head. But then when you do ask, then they're like, well, you're asking too many questions and you're like being
That's
picky. Like
cute.
pick a
Oh my
struggle.
gosh.
Like
Yeah.
pick.
I was told that you're asking too many questions to too many people. But in the beginning, didn't you say, oh, we love
Open to
questions?
questions.
Open to all the questions. No, it's the questions that you want me to ask,
Yeah.
not the questions that I actually have.
Yeah.
So yeah, what back to Daisy's point, I completely agree with her. You cannot be in contact with anyone who's still there because all they're going to do is end up gaslighting you, saying no, 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 come back, let the deacon or the deaconess explain, or and it's just
Yeah.
to get in your mind again. You cannot be anywhere near that. You need to literally start deconstructing that. you know Tony and Lindsay, the podcast girls, they say we have our cult selves and we have our true selves. We have to get back to that. We have to take away our cult mind, our cult characteristics, and all the things that we did, and start learning to trust ourselves again and to be the person. Oh, my thing died.
While I have a moment, I just want to wrap up what I was saying earlier before. Um I, I was just I don't remember what I was saying before, if I'm being honest, but I do know that I wanted to say, as far as like trusting yourself and like your intuition, um, actually coming out, I think I was more so hell bent on trusting my intuition because I didn't want to find myself in a situation like that again. Maybe even to like too much of an extent, too high of an extent, where I made up my mind about something and nobody was gonna like come in and try and alter my idea in any way, shape, or form. I obviously like calmed down now that the anxiety is out of the way. I can have, conversations with people with contrary opinions without getting like, I don't know if anyone else experienced that, but whenever I would meet someone with a contrary opinion of any sort, it was almost if I would become like fight or flight because I would be like, you're trying to convince me of something. You're trying to force me to believe into something. And I realized it was a trauma response from being manipulated in this cult and believing in something that turned out not to be true or not to be real. And to Edgar's point about just like mentioning it to people, I've actually found that a lot of people find cults interesting. This is why there's so
Yeah.
many documentaries out there about them. So when I would say that I was in a cult, people would be like, "Oh my gosh, tell me all about it! Like, let me hear every little juicy detail, right?" So I didn't experience any like embarrassment about it because people would show me that sort of reaction. I have had an interaction where someone was like, oh, sorry about that. I don't know if it cut me out. But I have had an interaction with some people before where they're like, oh, how'd you end up in something like that? That's crazy. Like I would never. I think that's what you said, Edgar. I resonate with that because I've heard someone say that, and it's like, again, it has to be a perfect storm. And never say never, right? We're all humans, and we're all definitely capable of being manipulated. So it didn't really affect me that much. I kind of laughed it off and was like, well, I mean, ignorance is bliss, you know?
And I
So,
mean, we're
and
yeah, like we're human, so
yeah,
anybody
yeah,
is
yeah.
able
Anyone
to,
is capable of it, and not to
yeah.
mention like um, brain development isn't fully mature until like 21, 22. Just to some points that we mentioned earlier in the conversation about age, our brain isn't even fully developed until a certain age, which is well past 18. I know for a fact. I believe it's between 21 or 20,
I think
22,
it's
not sure.
25. The
25. Oh, okay, even
frontal
the
lobe,
frontal
yeah,
lobe, yes.
yeah.
So, I mean, these things happen. And a sense of community is also like very important. I believe, as I mentioned like earlier, like having people that you can talk to and relate to on some level. It doesn't have to be the cult. But having someone to relate to on that level is actually very, very important because that's what you all have done for me. This has helped me tremendously. So I just wanted to throw out all those points while I could.
No, I think that those were great points. And actually, Amber, you reminded me of the last thing that I wanted to mention that helps me cope is something that you said also is like, you were like, you kind of said like meditating, going out and just, and so what I like to do is I like sometimes I go to a park. Like if I'm really stressed out, I'll go if obviously if I wish I could go travel every weekend and go like to the mountains or somewhere really nice, but when I can't, even if I'm feeling overwhelmed or stressed, I go to a park, I go, somewhere like a trail. I'll sit on a bench, I'll sit on a rock, and I'll just chill, you know what I mean? Just zone out. And I find that so helpful. Like, and sometimes I'll go to like different cities and like when I do travel, and it's like they'll be like, bro, come check out the city, come do it. And not knocking it. I love this. I love me some city too. But man, something about nature is just hits different now. I think because of being in that toxic environment, like man, when I can just get out there and like smell the fresh air and just take it all in, it just does something, and so those are my things. But I think everybody like has amazing points. I think anybody can try a little bit of
Yeah.
everything, and
Did you
it could
do
all
you
be
guys
helpful.
like do you guys feel like now you appreciate like the smallest things? Like I
Yes.
appreciate the smallest things now
Hmm.
and I see the beauty in like everything a lot
Yeah.
more than before. I definitely
Hmm.
did see the beauty in like nature and all this stuff. Like I love taking photos, like I love photography. So I would see that. But like now I appreciate it even more because those
Hmm.
are I guess like the things that remind me like I'm out. I can
Hmm.
just be myself and just relax. Like I don't have to
Yeah.
pretend. I don't have to be in hyper alert of like
Hmm.
who am I talking to if they're gonna be actually my friends because that's another thing too. They report you and
Yeah.
they report each other and you
Uh-huh.
can't really like be yourself with anybody in there because they're
Hmm.
constantly tattling on each other. So it's
Yeah.
that's not even a family. Like,
You better be
Hmm.
careful what you say to members inside the WMS. They'll snitch
Yeah.
you out quick.
like
I
Yeah,
think
I
that when
definitely. Sorry, really quick while she's
No, go
quiet.
ahead.
Yeah, to answer you, yeah, I definitely appreciate the small things. And I would have to say sleep. Sleep. Although I have a 2 month old, she sleeps through the night, I promise. Um, but I appreciate sleep and I appreciate my Saturdays, just like free time, just being able
Mhm.
to do what I want to do with my time. I would have to say is like the biggest sense of freedom is
Mhm.
that I've ever like I feel like I've never had this sense of freedom, right? Because I joined in college. And
Mhm.
even then my time was warped and wrapped into different tasks and things I had to do in order to graduate. So this sense of freedom and walking in parks and doing whatever I want to do with my time without having to really answer to anyone at all. Oh, those 5 a.m.s were absolutely brutal. I
Yeah,
do wonder
those
how
were
many
brutal.
people
Oh
ended
my
up
God,
in
those 5
car
a.m.s.
accidents. I
Mm-mm.
wonder how many people ended up in car accidents because there were several times where I was falling asleep at the wheel because I would go to the 5 a.m. service, leave the 5 a.m. service, go to work to clock in at 8, 9 o'clock in the morning, leave at like 5:30, rush back to the church so that I can keep the 7 p.m. service. There was no time to sleep during that entire time. So I do know a sister who actually did get into a car accident trying to keep the 5 a.m.s, but not to go off topic. But to answer you quite simply, yes, I appreciate so many small things and the big things too, like being able to make decisions for myself, having autonomy.
Yeah. You know, with that 5 a.m., like it just makes me think like they're really debilitating their members and putting them in danger by
Yeah,
doing
no.
that. Like
They're
it's
it's
very
on
dangerous.
purpose. The
Yeah, I know
fasting,
it's on
the
purpose.
it's
It's
all part of the programming, sleep deprivation, not having
I mean,
water
I I
or
definitely had
food.
the train, so I didn't have that issue of like, getting into
Hmm.
a car accident. But at the time when I was going into the train to go into 5 a.m., there were some crazy people there. So that's
Yeah, that's
dangerous.
dangerous. That's
Very
very
dangerous.
dangerous.
Yeah.
Yeah. No,
All right.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Now go ahead, Odalis. Finish your point.
Just what I wanted to say, going back to Sarah, how she says she appreciates like the little things and taking pictures. It's like when you're in the call, it's like it's negative thinking. I shouldn't be enjoying this. You know, this is fake. This is nature. No, I need to worry about preaching. So it's like that's how it started with me as far as my mental health. I was depressed. I felt like, oh my gosh, why are we even on this earth? What, it's like you don't, they teach you not to appreciate those things. So when you come out, it's like, wow, I can appreciate them. I always had, I was always amazed with the stars and the sky. And now, like with the weather changing here in the east, the cooler mornings, you can actually see the stars. You see the north south. It's beautiful. And I just look up and it's like, oh, even though I'm up at 5:30 in the morning for work, at least when I'm walking out now, it's not, oh my God, I gotta get there. Oh, is there gonna be parking? Oh my gosh, am I gonna make it in time? And now it's just like, just look at the sky. It's beautiful, enjoy it. So yeah, I feel like when you're in there, it's more of taking all that away from you, taking away those thoughts, those happy feelings that we should have. So
Yeah.
I
that's
mean,
one thing
to
I wanted to
that,
say.
I would say like I feel like any cult thing you could twist it. And I would twist it into saying like, look at this father and mother. They did
Mhm.
this. Like, and I would watch it and be like, sister, it's so beautiful.
Yeah, it's so twisted, really, the mentality that they put in us, lost in the sauce, is really the best way I could describe it. All right. So we've reached the last question. So you guys ready? So here's the question. What advice would you offer to those currently trying to heal from similar experiences? Who wants to go first?
I would say I definitely been out a while. And something that I've learned, um, not only take your time, but be gentle with yourself Don't be hard on yourself the moment that you realize this is definitely fake, because I for sure went on a rage, not only on like seeing their stuff being fake, but like on myself, kind of like beating myself down, like, how did you even end up in this? Like, you should have seen the red flags since the beginning. So just have that gentle, but also like forgiving side for yourself, because it's okay. It could happen to anybody. It's just the moment that it happened to you, it was like the perfect moment to just end up in a cult. And it's not your fault that you ended up in a cult. It's their fault for making that place. It's their fault for lying to people. It's their fault for using people. And it's their fault for basically not just indoctrinating people, but like getting people to a point where their mental health is so bad, debilitating, that they can't even know who they are as a person. And that's the cult's fault, not your fault.
That's good. That's good. Odali's.
And she pretty much said it all. Like, that's the first thing my therapist said. It's not your fault. You have to be kind to yourself. You have to tell yourself that if you knew, like we talked about, the contract, if you knew from the beginning that this is what it was, would you really have gone there? No, because you were in a situation where, either you're really young, you want to see things differently, you're searching for God, or you're in a tough spot. So I feel like I had a lot of guilt towards my children, even my mom, who ended up being baptized. And it's like, you have to tell yourself, if you really knew what it was, you would have never put your family in that situation. So definitely be kind to yourself. When you first come out, or if you're really struggling with your mental health, if you can see a therapist or find someone who can help you, even if you just need to cry or talk, I'm sure that there's um someone that you can trust. And if you can't, I mean, I don't know how people feel about getting in contact with one of us. I know Edgar was the first one. Right away, immediately, he emailed me when I was having my doubts. So we are here. So we might not all been through the exact situation, but we know what you're feeling mentally, physically, emotionally. So just know that you're not alone in this. You're not crazy. You are human. It can happen to any of us. Don't let someone say, oh, well, I would never have been that stupid. No, you don't know that, because again, we're human, and we try to cling to things that we want to be good, but sometimes it doesn't turn out that way. But just know that we're here, and hopefully, if you are thinking of leaving, you finally make that choice and you say that's deuces. That's it.
Deuces. Daisy.
I guess for me, it's like, don't be, I guess, scared to just, go through and do, just talk to somebody. And it's okay to like cry. You know what I mean? Sometimes it's like we have so much, inside of us. It's like, you don't know what to do with it. So it's like, give yourself some time, yes, to cry it out and to really look for things, what I mean, to try to um, get any doubts out of yourself by talking to some ex-members if you want. For me it was like I email you because it's like I need to know the facts. I need to know what I'm doing. It's like, okay, you know what I mean? Like I need to make sure that what I'm doing is correct. The frustration. It's nice to have, and having a community, you know what I mean? Someone to talk just um to just let out some things that happen, and just, yeah, I don't, I guess, like be hard on yourself, and just know that, yeah, it was the cult. It was, they're the ones who make you think that you need to do everything, that you need to just do everything they tell you to, that you shouldn't think, that if they tell you make sure that your kid's fast, it's not you, it's it's them, because they're putting there in your head that in order for you to be safe, your kids need to be fasting when they're babies. You know what I mean? They put that in your head is according to your faith. So obviously your faith is not as strong, then you're gonna make sure that your kids are fasting when they're young. It's not you that you decide to do it. So it's like you have to think about that. It's like it's not yourself, it's them having, influencing you. So it's just it's good if possible, yeah. Talk to even if you don't feel like you need it. I felt like, oh my God, like I'm okay. I just need like to know the facts, but I still wanted to just talk to a therapist just to make sure that they tell me I'm okay. You know what I mean? Because I have kids, I don't want to, break down. When I left, I didn't want to make sure I didn't break down and then I wasn't there for my kids. You know what I mean? It just makes it even worse. You know what I mean? That gives the cult something to say, oh, look at her. She left the church and now she's all so bad. Look at that. You know what I mean? I was like, no, I'm not gonna give them a saying on it, saying, oh, look at her. Now Daisy, oh wow, after she left, oh, everything went downhill. Now she's doing this bad things. No, I was like, I make sure that I'm okay. So in order for me to do that, I make sure I talk to a therapist, make sure that I was doing okay for me and my kids. You know what I mean? Make sure I was talking to any person that I can feel that can help me out. You know what I mean? Regulate, make sure that I was, okay. So just I guess my point is just to just take it one day at a time. And it's okay to be all over the place, and just write things down, questions, any doubt, any feelings you have, just write everything down. Because sometimes when you write things out, you can start when you feel a little bit better, you can learn to answer the questions, find those questions. Sometimes once you get all those answers, you feel much better. You know what I mean? So just write everything, just have a journal and have all your feelings written down. And once you're ready to express them to somebody, just express them to anyone. And we're here. You know, this community is here to help everybody out. And, they can always reach out to Eggert, and he can point it out, someone who can help you out. You know what I mean? I'm here. So if someone wants to talk to me, you know what I mean? Sometimes it's better. Any questions? Yeah. I'm talking too much, right?
No,
But go
no,
ahead.
that's good. That's good, Daisy. Great job. Amber?
Yeah, so I'm gonna give a bit of an unorthodox answer. I'm gonna say be a bit of a rebel in the eyes of the Church of God. Do the things that they told you not to do. Um, for me, that helped me gain some sense of control and to find myself again, to be quite honest. It is what it is. They said don't celebrate Halloween. I celebrated Halloween. The first thing I did was to have a glass of wine on a Saturday. Um, just to see, will I burn? Will the world crash and crumble in front of me? And you'll see very quickly that a lot of the scare tactics they try to instill in you is indeed not true. So I would say, yeah, test it.
Yeah.
Do the things they told you not to do and see how it goes for you. Because to be quite honest, a lot of us, our life have changed for the better after leaving that place. So and also like just what others said. Be kind to yourself, be patient with yourself. And when you do find yourself again, don't let yourself go. Love that self, love who you are. It's different. You could be different from someone else. That's fine. That's what makes you unique. That's what makes you you, and stay true to that. And Charlie says the same thing.
I agree with Charlie.
I was gonna add as well that something that I learned from my therapy is that you should treat it as grief. I know a lot of people think like grief is like somebody that died and that's it, but grief is just basically mourning something that you lost. Is not necessarily something that died. Like it could be that time period that you were there and you basically lost time there and just grieving that you're not going to get that time back because time doesn't wait for anybody, which is okay, but just grieve that time and that could look different in everybody. Like every person is different. I took it as just playing video games. And I guess like Amber was going to the park or doing other things. So it looks different on every person, but just like grieve it and go through those stages so that when you come out of it, it's a little bit healthier as a person. Yeah, that's
Yeah, no, I agree. I think all you guys really gave some good advice, and I think today we had a great show. My advice is just be very. Oh, go ahead, Odalis.
One last thing, I promise. I know I've said this before, but also a lot of people who when you come out, you like you said you're in fear, oh, this is happening to me because I left, or this is happening to me. Just because things aren't going all happy all the time doesn't mean that it's happening because you left or because you're no longer there. No, it's happening because that's life. Like right now, I can say, yeah, I'm so happy I'm not there, but you still have life struggles. I still have two teenagers. I have one in college, but that's just life. That's not happening to me because I'm no longer there. That was going to happen regardless. So I just want people to, think about that. Don't say to yourself, oh my gosh, I left and now this is happening, or, I'm
unrealistic
losing my job.
expectations.
Right. Because that's what life is. Life is going to have happy moments. Life is going to have stressful moments. But, you just have to understand that it's not because you're not in that place. You are 1000% better once you leave that place. And it might take time because healing takes time. There's certain things that Christmas is a big one for me. I used to feel so much joy and happiness. And now it's like I feel like they've taken that from me and I'm trying to rebuild it in my own way. There's certain things that I'm still struggling with. I'm only going to be 2 years out. I'm sure that the 2 year mark, I'm probably going to have a moment but that's just part of healing. That's not happening to me because I left. I'm just relieved that I left. I'm in a much better place because I left. At the end of the day, we're all going to have our struggles, but that has nothing to do with the World Mission Society Church of God. And
Yeah.
that's it. I am done.
No, that's a great point. That's a great point, Odali said. Like I said, I think you guys all knocked it out of the park today on this episode. I was just gonna say my advice to the people watching this is just trust your gut. I would say that your intuition is usually right half the time, more than half the time. And there's a reason why they want you to suppress it. There's a reason why they want to call it Satan. There's a reason why they want to call it evil spirits. It's because they know if you trust it, you're going to do your homework. You're going to look them up. You're going to find out that it's a cult and you're going to run for the hills. And so I would say, just like you're supposed to trust your gut in a lot of different, areas in life, don't let them take that from you, because then you've put yourself in a trap. And every time you see something bad happening, you won't trust your gut to get out. And you have to ask yourself, why am I getting these gut feelings anyway? I shouldn't be getting gut feelings to head for the hills in a church. You know what I mean? Especially a church that's supposed to be run by Almighty God on the earth right now, navigating it. You know what I mean? Like, and so I would just say, trust your gut, trust your intuition, and another thing that I just want to say is, members, don't take yourself so seriously. As a member of the Church of God, when I was in there for over a decade, it was horrible. Like having to, what I mean, just be like a soldier at all times. Now, oh, life is so much easier. Like
And it was
just
boring.
yeah,
Boring. It was
yeah,
boring.
like it's okay. Enjoy life. Don't worry. Like right now, the members, like, wherever they're at, if they're around another member or a leader, they got to be like so uptight. They like, you see that, like, that's slander. That, what I mean? If you're by yourself, you're looking at it, you're like, hey man, they got a point. But if you're around a leader, you're like 360, like Delulu. You know what I mean? Like, my point is, don't take yourself so seriously. These people are just your leaders that you look up to, the pastors. You got some that are claiming themselves to be second coming Christ. For God's sake, like, you can't take these people too seriously. They're humans just like us who make mistakes. Okay. And so don't put, you're trusting them. Trust yourself. Trust your intuition. You know what I mean? And it's okay to look for answers. It's okay to ask questions. Okay, and that's just my 2 cents. That being said, there's a lot more. I know that we could definitely make another episode of this, mental health, because we haven't even started on, there's so many other stories I've heard from other members where, you know what I mean, they had mental disorders and like it got pushed to the extreme in that place. People that were told not to take their medication, how does that affect you, as a person? And there's just so much we could get into, but I hope that for now, for the time being, I hope that you guys found this episode beneficial. I want to thank our panel of guests today. It was a blast. I had fun with all you guys, and you guys brought up some great points. And to anybody that's watching this, thank you again for all your support. We got some surprises coming up soon, and I hope you guys enjoyed this episode of Diffusing the WMSCOG.